Hello and welcome to Quito. Today we are going to fly the drop bear Albatros to Piura. It was time to go on with my world tour using the Albatros, and of course it needs no ATC, and it's also a good chance to fly VOR to VOR. So let's hop into it and start preparing it for the journey. First things first, it takes a while to boot, so let's go batteries, engine systems and avionics on. We will need fuel valve open, and let's start the APU. Okay, we're not going to use sorry. So we are going to use VOR1, and we are going to use it also for the bearing pointer. Let's start the engine. The APU is now up and running quite nice. Let's see about the engine. N2 is slowly rising. According to my experience, the engine will make a good start if the oil pressure gets into the green band. According to what I could find on the net, N2 should rise to 50% in about a minute or half a minute. I don't remember that one. But once we get into the green with the oil, it will work. And yes, that seems like a proper engine start, or at least a working one. Let's have some electricity. We will need taxi lights on. We will need strobes on. And let's make nav lights flash. Also, let's turn the pitot heaters on. Let's hide the GPS map. We are going to fly first to Quito VOR, which is 115.3. And we are going to fly towards it on a direction of 303. Let's just check the. So we are going to taxi to either 18 or 36. Let's see what the weather says. So wind 162 knots, so it's at 160, then we shall of course use runway 18. Can we get a bit? Yes, we can. Okay, Well, we do not have pushback, so people around the airplane, look out. In a way, we have pretty low clouds. In another way, we are almost 8,000 feet high, so clouds aren't very low at all. I don't think we will need the chart. What we are going to need is to set what we can set, so let's go with 13,000 feet, that's 5,000 above ground, and we are going to take off at runway 18, so let's set initial heading to 180. I don't think we need all 4 kilometers of this runway, but I'm not sure how much this high altitude changes the abilities of the Albatros to take off, so better safe than sorry. And of course, we are taxiing way too fast. Let's stop here for a second and set flaps takeoff, and also a notch of trim to help us get off the ground. Okay, so pitot heats on, lights on, landing light on. Let's get into the air. Oh yeah, parking brake. And let's fly with a school code of, well, what, anything. After all, we are alone in the skies today. I really don't like how zoom resets whenever I try to look around. So airspeed is alive, 100 knots, 10, 120, 130, and let's get off the ground. Positive rate gear up, flaps up. We can get back to the thrust with the thrust. We don't need to. Okay, that should be good heading to capture the autopilot on, heading mode and flight level change. And nav mode, but yeah. And we should be intercepting the radial. 13,000 feet might not be enough. Let's go with more. And we are climbing at almost 10,000 feet per minute. The Albatros is crazy strong in this regards. And we only need to fly. Why aren't you? Okay, we are flying over the VOR, so we are already over it. And next should be a heading of 217. And let's also move so we have flown over the VOR and we should be flying out from there in a direction of 217, but of course we have flown way above it and way over it, so we need to turn more to the left in order to be back on the right radial. And as we get closer to the radial, the blue arrow will go closer to the green line, and we will be able to engage nav mode once more. And the dial is now moving. Okay, so we will need to fly 149 nautical miles away from this VOR, and somewhere in the middle we should be able to catch the signal of VOR Golf Yankee Victor, which is 115.9er. But of course we will not get it from this distance. Once we are about halfway, I will try to capture it, or at least I will check if I can. So right now we're flying 18,000 feet, doing Mach 747. The Albatros is quite a capable flying companion, and this is a great opportunity for a great screenshot. For the collection. Yeah, definitely that side is the looker. Okay, fine as it is, would be to fly in those clouds at -5 degrees. Let's get further up. We are flying 217, so let's go for an odd altitude. Say flight level 220. Yes, we seem to be safely above the clouds now. Are those lines what I think they are? They could just be a settlement that is wrongly drawn by the AI. I'm not sure. So we are now over halfway to the next VOR station. So let's try and select heading mode and switch to Golf Yankee Victor, and we can see, or at least we can capture its signals. So from now on we will fly towards instead of outwards. And once we get there, we will fly on heading 197. Heading 197. But that's of course in 53.5 nautical miles away from where we are right now. Okay, and while we are en route, so about Piura, I have checked it and they do not have ILS procedures. So it's Uniform Romeo. First off, let's check their weather. 160 at 5 knots. So we are going to land on runway 19er. So what I was starting to tell is that they have RNP approach only and VOR only. Of course we will fly towards the VOR. So I will try to do a more or less straight in visual landing. I'm not going to use the RNP approach. And the runway is at elevation 116 feet. It's funny how they mention taxiway Charlie on this chart without having a taxiway Charlie. So, yeah, thanks for the info. Well, we will manage. We have 19 more miles to Golf Yankee Victor. Eight miles. But back to the cockpit. 5 miles. I think I will go over to having mode about 2.5 miles away from the VOR station. Let's make it 2. 23, 22, 21, 20. And 197. So hard to see this magenta against the backdrop. 197. Nav mode. And this way we have not overflown it. What a nice looking airport. And what a big city. So we were flying over Guayaquil. I just checked it. What this VOR station was. But we are going to fly this radial for pretty long, 189 nautical miles. You know what, let's get closer to the ground and see if we can fly below these clouds. Let's get down first to, well, let's make it 12,000 feet. Let's not worry about fuel efficiency and drag. Let's take a good look below the skies, or at least below the clouds. We are, of course, wherever below the skies. This is not a spaceflight simulator. I don't think we will get below the clouds at 12,000. Let's go for 8,000. Seven degrees outside. Nice. And we are also not going to bother with keeping ourselves below 250 knots under 10,000 feet. The sky is ours this time. The Albatros is not meant for such flights, although I am thinking about trying it out on vatsim one day. But it has its limitations. For example, I cannot change altimeters to hectopascals, so that would pose a problem flying it on vatsim. And we are at 8,000 feet. Let's get our thrust back to as close to maximum continuous thrust as possible. "76 miles done, 110 to go." But we are still not below the clouds. Let's go 6,000. It seems like 6,000 feet is still not properly below the clouds. Let's get to 4,000 feet. And we might need to get back a bit higher once we get closer to those mountain ranges. But for now, let's enjoy the low and fast. We are not really annoying much people out here, although that seems to be like something, like some town. Are we going to make it over those or not? And yeah, we are too close to the ground and too close to those mountains. We have lost the signal of the VOR station. So as fun as it is, let's get back to a higher altitude. Let's go with 250 speed for the flight level change. I wonder what altitude we were. Okay, let's stop here then. We have the VOR signal back. Let's keep it on, well, 8,000 feet. We will clip some clouds, but that's the only way to keep flying the VOR. Okay, we are 113 miles away from Golf Yankee Victor, and our next VOR station is 117.7. Let's sync the heading. Let's turn on the heading and see if we can capture. We can. And that's actually Piura Airport VOR. Right now we will fly in a direction of 197. The runway is at 193. So I will just, I think if I just move it one little bit, it will make a huge difference now. So let's get closer and then modify our direction to match with the runway. And 66 miles to go. As a reminder, let's move 193 the heading. So that's the direction we will need to be flying. That's the runway heading. You know what? Let's make it a bit. Oh, I could actually set 193. And of course the VOR station is to the left, I think. Yeah, it will be to the left, so the runway will be a bit to the right if we are coming in on this radial. That is something to remember. And 44 miles to go. Let's get down to 6,000. Let's make it 4,000. Let's not forget to switch landing lights on, but we are still pretty far out, so no speed reduction. Just yet. "24 miles. 17 miles. Okay, I think it's time to hit the brakes. I think that's the runway in sight. So we are below 200. We can deploy the gear. We can also get the first notch of flaps down. And let's take it over from the autopilot and fly ourselves. We're not flying towards the VOR, we are flying towards the runway. Let's just make a quick photo. Let's go flaps landing. We'll need to add a little thrust to compensate for the drag. And I guess we are a bit too high. I shouldn't be flying this slow with the Albatros. I don't think there's a house just so close to the runway in reality. Nice and easy, nice and easy, nice and easy. Is this not a taxiway? So, flaps up. Okay, no yellow line. So we are just going to make a round turn. We don't need to blind people, so let's switch over to taxi, and we don't need the pitot heat running anymore as well, but let's get on with finding a parking spot for ourselves. You know what, I'm just going to park in front of this building. Okay, so lights off. Okay, so then welcome to Piura. I hope you enjoyed the flight. I did. It's always nice to fly to Drop Bear. It's a really nice airplane. If you haven't tried it out, I can only recommend it. It was a very good learning plane. It cannot do all the fine things that the modernest aircraft can do, like the Honda Jet, for example, but it has a very powerful engine, and with this version, this Drop Bear version, you can also have the use of the GPS and navigation system. It knows pretty much, but it has its limitations, for example, no hectopascals. However, I really like to fly it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish one day the world tour with it, although I have only done Africa, part of the Europe, and well, away over the Atlantic, and now downwards to the southernmost end of the South Americas, then back to the north and on to Russia. But that's of course for another day. See you next time. Goodbye.